I spent 15 years as a ghost, bleeding in dirt tracks and mountain passes the government says don't exist, all for one reason: to buy my mother a palace. But when I finally walked up that $10 million driveway in California, the woman who raised me didn't run to hug me. She didn't even know my name. Instead, she knelt at my feet in a tattered maid's uniform, trembling as she offered me a tray of appetizers. My own brother stood over her like a king, calling her worthless help in the house I paid for with my blood. He thinks I'm a dead man. He thinks he's won. He doesn't know that the most dangerous man he'll ever meet just walked through his front door, and I'm not leaving until his entire world is in ashes. Watch closely. Most people will disagree with what happens next. If you were in this situation, would you stay silent to gather evidence, or would you end it right there? Comment A or B. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here or yet to join us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. My name is Elias Grant. I'm 43 years old, and for the last 15 years, I've been operating in places that don't have names. Black Ops doesn't show up on your tax return. There are no parades when you come home, just scars that don't heal and memories you can't talk about. I survived a helicopter crash in the mountains where the cold was so brutal it felt like knives in my lungs. I walked for 3 days on a shattered leg just to reach an extraction point. I did it all for one reason: my mother, Elena. When I was 7, my father walked out on us, left mom with 2 boys and a stack of unpaid bills. She worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. I remember her coming home at midnight, her hands blistered from cleaning office buildings, and still finding the energy to check my homework. She never complained. Not once. So when I signed my first contract payout, $12 million for work I can't describe, I knew exactly what to do with it. I bought her a palace. The estate at 4022 Ocean Drive in California cost me $10.5 million. White limestone walls, Spanish tile roof, 8,000 square feet with floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the Pacific like a painting. I wanted her to wake up every morning and see the ocean. I wanted her to finally rest. I didn't call ahead. I wanted to surprise her. I wanted to see her face light up when her son walked through those double mahogany doors. But when I reached the perimeter gates, they were wide open. A line of luxury SUVs filled the circular driveway. Music and laughter drifted from the backyard. I moved along the side of the house, my boots silent on the gravel. Old habits. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I saw them. 50, maybe 60 people lounging by the infinity pool. Designer swimwear, crystal champagne flutes. And moving among them, carrying a heavy silver tray, was my mother. She looked 80, though she was only 68. Her spine, once straight and proud, was bent. She wore a cheap polyester uniform, black and white like something from a budget hotel. Her hands shook as she refilled glasses. I watched her stumble slightly on the deck, watched her apologize to a woman young enough to be her granddaughter. Then I saw him, my brother, Silas, lounging on a deck chair in designer swim trunks and aviator sunglasses, a Cuban cigar in one hand, a crystal tumbler in the other. He was laughing, holding court like he owned the place. Next to him was a woman in a bikini that probably cost more than most people's rent. She looked comfortable, like she belonged there. My mother walked past them, struggling with a cooler full of ice. Silas didn't even glance at her. He snapped his fingers. "More champagne," he said. She flinched. Actually flinched, then hurried to obey. I felt something crack inside my chest. This was the woman who held my hand on my first day of school. The woman who stayed up all night when I had pneumonia, praying over my bed because we couldn't afford a doctor. And now she was serving drinks to strangers in the house I bought to honor her. For a moment, our eyes met. She looked right at me through the glass, but there was nothing in her gaze. No recognition, just hollow confusion, like she was staring at a stranger. Her eyes were clouded, distant. Drugged, maybe. I stepped back into the shadows, my heart pounding. Silas turned toward the gate, squinting against the sun. I froze. One more second and he would have seen me. But then someone called his name, and he turned back to his guests. I retreated down the driveway, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles went white. I had killed men for following orders. I had ended lives in the name of national security. But this was different. This was my mother, and someone was going to pay. Be honest. If you saw your own mother treated like this, could you stay calm long enough to gather evidence? Or would rage take over? Comment your answer. And if this hits close to home, hit that like button. You're not alone. I drove 3 blocks to a coffee shop and sat in the corner with my encrypted laptop. In Black Ops, the first rule is simple: never engage without intelligence. I could have walked back into that house and put Silas through a wall. But violence is temporary. I needed permanent destruction. I started with property records. The mansion at 4022 Ocean Drive was no longer in my mother's name. It had been transferred to an LLC called Granite Holdings 6 years ago. The deed bore her signature, but I knew my mother's handwriting. The loop on the E was wrong. The slant was too steep. It was a forgery. I dug deeper. Court documents showed that Silas had been granted legal guardianship of Elena Grant 3 years ago. The filing cited diminished mental capacity and inability to manage her own affairs. There was a doctor's report attached. Dr. Richard Brennan. The diagnosis: early-stage dementia with rapid cognitive decline. I pulled up Dr. Brennan's background. 2 malpractice suits. 1 suspension. A pattern of falsified medical reports for elder guardianship cases. He was dirty. Then I found the bank records. For the last 15 years, I had been wiring $20,000 a month into my mother's account. $240,000 a year. That's $3.6 million total. Every cent of it was gone. The deposits had been rerouted to Silas's personal accounts starting 6 years ago, right around the time the house was transferred. But the worst discovery came when I searched for life insurance policies. I had taken out a $10 million policy on myself before my first deployment. Standard procedure for operators. If you don't come back, at least your family is taken care of. The beneficiary was my mother. The policy showed a claim filed 7 years ago. Beneficiary payout, $10 million. Recipient, Silas Grant, as legal guardian and executor of Elena Grant's estate. Status, paid in full. I stared at the screen. They had declared me dead. There was a death certificate, signed by a military official I vaguely recognized. Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Fisher. Killed in action, it said. Body unrecoverable. Fisher and I had crossed paths in Afghanistan. He was a logistics officer who got caught skimming fuel contracts. I reported him. He was demoted, reassigned, and apparently held a grudge. He had signed the paperwork that erased me from existence. My brother had used a corrupt officer to legally kill me. He collected $10 million on my death. He stole the house. He drained my mother's accounts. And apparently, she never saw a dime. I pulled up my mother's medical records from her real doctor, Dr. Kendra Liu, at the VA hospital. The notes were clear. Patient is alert, oriented, and cognitively intact. Excellent recall. No signs of dementia. The last appointment was 6 years ago. After that, nothing. Silas had cut her off from real medical care and only took her to Dr. Brennan when he needed fraudulent documentation. I sat there for 2 hours, my coffee going cold. I thought about all the missions I had run, all the times I had put my life on the line. And the whole time, my brother was back home stealing everything I had built for our mother. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A folder buried in Silas's cloud storage. The file name, Elena's final placement. I opened it. It wasn't a nursing home brochure. It was a life insurance policy. On my mother, $5 million. Beneficiary, Silas Grant. Payout condition, accidental death. He wasn't just stealing from her. He was planning to kill her. What would you do if you discovered your own family was planning something this evil? Would you go to the police, or would you handle it yourself? Let me know in the comments. And if you think this story is taking a dark turn, just wait. It gets worse. The next morning, I parked half a mile from the mansion and waited. At 9 a.m., a pharmacy delivery van pulled up to the gate. I followed it at a distance, watching the driver drop off a package at the side entrance. After he left, I approached the house on foot, moving through the neighbor's property line, staying low. I found the package on the doorstep. It was addressed to Elena Grant. I opened it. Inside were 3 prescription bottles, all from Dr. Brennan. High-dose sedatives, lorazepam, quetiapine, medications strong enough to knock out a horse, let alone a 68-year-old woman. The dosage instructions were handwritten. 2 tablets, 3 times daily. That wasn't treatment. That was chemical restraint. Silas was keeping her in a fog, so she couldn't think clearly, couldn't ask questions, couldn't remember who she used to be. I thought back to when I was a kid. My mother was sharp as a blade. She could balance a checkbook in her head, negotiate with landlords, fix a broken faucet with a hairpin and duct tape. She taught me how to read before I started kindergarten. And now, Silas had reduced her to a shuffling, confused shadow. I checked the prescription dates. The medications had been refilled every month for the last 3 years. That meant she had been drugged for over 1,000 days. 1,000 days of stolen clarity. 1,000 days of being a prisoner in her own mind. I pulled out my phone and called a contact from my old unit. Marcus Chun. He had retired to private security, but he still had access to resources most people didn't. Marcus, I need a full analysis on these medications. I'm sending you the labels now. How fast can you get me a toxicology report? For you? 2 hours. But Elias, what's this about? I'll explain later. Just tell me if these drugs can cause permanent damage. He was quiet for a moment. If someone's been on this cocktail for years? Yeah. Memory loss, motor function decline, organ damage. It's basically slow poisoning. That's what I thought. I hung up and stared at the bottles in my hand. A delivery truck pulled up. Groceries. I watched the driver unload bags at the service entrance. When he left, I intercepted the order. Inside were cheap staples. Rice, canned beans, day-old bread. $40 worth of food for the week. Meanwhile, I had seen Silas's guests eating lobster and Wagyu beef the night before. Then I saw it. A construction dumpster at the edge of the driveway. I walked over and looked inside. My heart stopped. There, tossed among broken furniture and trash bags, was a wooden crate. I climbed in and pulled it open. Inside were my mother's belongings. Photo albums from when my father was still alive. Her wedding dress. My old football trophies. A quilt her grandmother had made. Everything that mattered to her, thrown away like garbage. At the bottom of the crate was a small jewelry box. I opened it. Inside was a bronze star medal. My medal. I had mailed it to her 10 years ago after a mission in Iraq. She had kept it all this time. Even when they told her I was dead, she had held on to it. I heard voices. A woman's laugh. I looked up and saw Silas and the woman from the pool walking toward the dumpster. I ducked down, hidden behind a pile of debris. They're hosting a party this weekend, the woman said. For the new owners. We need this cleared out before then. New owners? I thought. He was selling the house. Silas tossed a bag into the dumpster, right over my head. Just make sure the old woman stays out of sight. I don't want her scaring off the buyers. The woman laughed. Don't worry. She'll be too sedated to even remember her own name. They walked away. I stayed in the dumpster for another 10 minutes, clutching my mother's jewelry box, shaking with rage. If someone was drugging your mother and throwing away her memories, how far would you go to stop them? Would you call the police, or would you take matters into your own hands? Comment below. And if you're still watching, subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens next. I needed to get inside that house, not as Elias Grant, the dead brother, but as someone Silas would welcome. I created a new identity. Vance Holloway, security consultant for high net worth clients. Marcus helped me build a website, business cards, references. Within 24 hours, Vance Holloway existed. I sent Silas an email from a burner account. Subject line: security breach detected at 4022 Ocean Drive. The message was simple. Mr. Grant, our firm monitors digital vulnerabilities for estates in your area. We've detected unusual activity targeting your property's network. This could indicate a serious security risk. I'd like to offer a complimentary audit. Please call at your earliest convenience. He called within an hour. Mr. Holloway, I got your email. What kind of activity are we talking about? Potential data intrusion. Someone may be attempting to access your financial records or personal files. I can't say more over the phone. I'd prefer to meet in person. When can you come by? Tomorrow, noon. I'll bring my equipment and do a full sweep of your property. That works. And Mr. Holloway, discretion is important. Of course, Mr. Grant. Discretion is what we do best. The next day, I stood at the front door of the mansion I had bought 15 years ago. I wore a tailored suit, carried a leather briefcase, and looked every inch the professional consultant. Silas opened the door with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Holloway, thanks for coming on such short notice. My pleasure. Beautiful property you have here. It's been in the family for years, he lied smoothly. But with all the tech these days, you can never be too careful. Absolutely. Shall we start with your office? He led me through the house. Every step felt surreal. The furniture I had chosen, the artwork I had commissioned, all of it was still there. But it felt wrong, like a museum where someone had rearranged the exhibits. We reached his office. I set down my briefcase and pulled out a tablet. I'm going to run a diagnostic on your network. This might take a few minutes. Take your time, Silas said, settling into the leather chair behind the desk. So, Mr. Holloway, how long have you been in the security business? 10 years, I said, not looking up. Started in risk assessment. Moved into private consulting. Lot of wealthy clients in this area. I imagine you've seen some interesting situations. You'd be surprised what people try to hide, I said. Financial improprieties, identity theft, even family members exploiting vulnerable relatives. Silas shifted in his chair. That's a shame. People can be ruthless. They can, I agreed. Especially when there's money involved. Speaking of which, I noticed this property has changed hands recently. County records show a transfer about 6 years ago. Is that accurate? Silas's smile faltered. You certainly do your homework. The property was my brother's originally. He passed away. Military. I inherited it as next of kin. I'm sorry for your loss. These things happen, Silas said. He was always running off to dangerous places. I told him it would catch up with him eventually. I wanted to break his jaw. Instead, I nodded and kept typing. Just then, the door opened. My mother walked in, carrying a tray with coffee and pastries. She moved slowly, her hands trembling. She set the tray on the desk, her eyes downcast. When she turned to leave, she stumbled, spilling coffee across my boots. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice cracking. I'm so sorry, sir. Please forgive me. It's fine, I said gently. Accidents happen. Silas stood up, his face red. Elena, I told you to be careful. You're embarrassing me in front of a guest. She's fine, I said, my voice calm but firm. It's just coffee. Silas reached out and grabbed her arm. Go clean yourself up, and stay in your room until I tell you otherwise. He raised his hand, not to hit her, but to shove her toward the door. I moved faster than thought. My hand shot out and caught his wrist mid-motion. I squeezed just hard enough to make him wince. "I don't think that's necessary," I said quietly. "She's already apologized." For a moment, we locked eyes. Silas saw something in my face that made him go pale. He pulled his wrist free and stepped back. "You're right. I'm sorry. Stress. Lot on my mind." My mother scurried out of the room. I released my grip and sat back down, my pulse pounding. "Let's finish this audit," I said. "Would you have been able to stay calm in that moment? Or would you have broken cover to protect someone you love? Let me know in the comments. And if you're on the edge of your seat, hit that like button. This is just the beginning." I spent the next 3 hours installing surveillance equipment throughout the house. Silas thought I was securing his network. In reality, I was planting cameras and audio devices in every room. Pinhole lenses in smoke detectors, microphones in air vents. By the time I left, I had eyes and ears on everything. That night, I sat in my rental car with a tablet, watching the live feeds. At 10 p.m., Silas and the woman from the pool, whose name I learned was Juliana, sat in the living room with glasses of wine. I turned up the audio. "The buyer is coming Friday," Silas said, "offering $12 million, $3 million over market. Once we close, we're done with this place." "What about Elena?" Juliana asked. "We can't just leave her here." "We're not." Silas leaned back, swirling his wine. "The policy pays out $5 million on accidental death. All we need is the right opportunity." My hands tightened on the tablet. "An accident," Juliana said slowly. "Like what?" "A fall down the stairs. An overdose. Hell, she's already on enough medication to drop a horse. We just increase the dosage and let nature take its course." Silas smiled. "Exactly. The autopsy will show natural causes. No one will question it. And if they do, we have Dr. Brennan to back us up." I felt cold. Not anger. Just cold, calculated clarity. "When do we do it?" Juliana asked. "After the sale closes. We'll stage it to look like she wandered off her meds and took too many by mistake. Clean. Simple." I switched camera views. My mother was in the basement. Not a finished basement with a couch and a TV. A bare concrete room behind the laundry unit. A twin bed. A thin blanket. No windows. The door had a lock on the outside. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. Then she reached under the mattress and pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside were pills. Dozens of them. She hadn't been taking the medication. She had been hiding it, spitting it out and saving the evidence. "She's sharper than they think," I whispered to myself. Then I saw her pull out something else. A photograph. It was me. My graduation photo from basic training. 25 years old, crew cut, dress blues. She held it to her chest and started crying. "My boy," she whispered. "My Elias. They said you were gone. But I don't believe them. I don't believe them." I wiped my eyes. I couldn't let her see me. Not yet. If I revealed myself now, Silas would destroy the evidence, maybe even hurt her to cover his tracks. I needed overwhelming proof. I needed to catch them in the act. At 2 a.m., I heard footsteps on the audio feed. Juliana was walking down to the basement. She opened the door to my mother's room without knocking. "Elena," she said, her voice cold. "We need to talk." My mother looked up, confused. "Yes, ma'am." "The medication," Juliana said. "It's not working fast enough. You're still too aware. Too present. We're going to increase your dosage." "No," my mother said quietly. "I don't want more. I feel sick when I take them." "You don't get a choice," Juliana snapped. "You're here because we allow it. You eat because we allow it. You breathe because we haven't decided otherwise. Understand?" My mother nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Good," Juliana said. "And one more thing. If you mention Elias again, if you talk about your dead son to anyone, we're putting you in a state facility. One of those places where they park old people and forget they exist. Do you want that? No, ma'am. Then keep your mouth shut. Juliana left, locking the door behind her. I watched my mother collapse onto the bed, sobbing into her pillow. I couldn't take it anymore. I shut off the tablet and stared at the ceiling of my car. She never saw the danger coming from the people she loved. And most people don't. If this happened to your family, would you know the signs? Would you be able to stop it before it was too late? Subscribe so you're never caught off guard by the next story. And if you're still not subscribing, drop a comment. What's holding you back? 3 a.m. The mansion was dark except for a single light upstairs. I parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, moving through the neighbor's yard like I had done 100 times in hostile territory. The back door lock took me 8 seconds to pick. Old habits. I descended the basement stairs, each step calculated to avoid the creaks I had memorized from the surveillance footage. The hallway smelled like mildew and detergent. At the end, behind the laundry unit, was the locked door. I pulled out my picks and went to work. The door opened with a soft click. My mother was sitting on the edge of her bed, wide awake, staring at the wall. She turned when she heard me, her eyes going wide with terror. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't hurt me. I'll take the medicine. I'll do whatever you want." "Mom, it's me. Don't come closer," she said, pressing herself against the wall. "Silas sent you, didn't he? Another doctor to make me forget." "I'm not a doctor." I knelt down slowly, keeping my hands visible. "Mom, listen to my voice. Do you remember the song you used to sing when I had nightmares? When I couldn't sleep?" She stared at me, confusion flickering across her face. I started singing softly. "Hush now, don't you cry. Morning comes with clear blue sky. Stars will guard you through the night. Everything will be all right." Her hand flew to her mouth. "Only one person knows that song," she whispered. "My Elias. He used to have terrors, bad dreams about monsters. I'd hold him and sing until he fell asleep. It's me, Mom. I'm here. But they said you were dead. 7 years. They showed me papers. I know. They lied. I'm alive, and I'm getting you out of here." She reached out with shaking hands and touched my face. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "You're real. You're really here. I'm here, and I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She nodded. "I have to tell you something," she said quickly. "The pills. I haven't been taking them. I've been hiding them." "Where?" "In the soil of my plant. The little fern they let me keep. I knew something was wrong. I knew they were trying to make me forget. So I pretended. I acted confused, acted weak, but I've been watching. Listening." "You're brilliant," I said. "Exactly like I remember. How long have you been faking?" 6 months. Ever since I overheard Juliana talking about the insurance money. I knew they were planning something. I just didn't know when. A floorboard creaked upstairs. We both froze. Footsteps. Someone was walking toward the kitchen. I checked my watch. Silas always got water at 3:15. I had timed it from the surveillance. "We have to hide," I whispered. "Now." I pulled her into the corner behind the door, pressing us both into the shadows. The footsteps descended the basement stairs. Slow, deliberate. The hallway light flicked on. I heard Silas muttering to himself as he approached. "Just checking the lock. Just checking." The doorknob rattled. My mother's hand gripped mine so tightly I thought her bones might break. Silas pushed the door open slightly, peering inside. The bed was empty, the blanket pulled back. For a moment, he stood there, confused. Then he grunted and closed the door. The lock clicked. His footsteps retreated. We stayed frozen for another 5 minutes. When I was certain he was gone, I exhaled. "Tomorrow night," I whispered. "I'm coming back for you. Be ready." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to end this. All of it." Have you ever had to stay silent when everything in you wanted to scream? When the person you love most is in danger and you can't act yet? Comment below. And if you're still here, still watching, hit that subscribe button. You need to see how this ends. The next morning, I called Silas from the Vance Holloway number. "Mr. Grant, I have some interesting news. I've been approached by a client who's very interested in your property." "Go on," Silas said. I could hear the greed in his voice. "He's offering $15 million. Cash. Quick close. No contingencies." 15? That's nearly double the market value. He's a tech executive. Made his money in crypto. He wants privacy, ocean views, and he's willing to pay a premium for the right property. "When can we meet?" "Tomorrow. Noon. He wants to do a final walkthrough with all interested parties present. I'll need you, any co-owners, and full access to the property." Silas was quiet for a moment. "There's just me and my business partner." "Perfect. I'll send over the paperwork tonight." I hung up and smiled. The trap was set. I had created a shell company called Pacific Digital Holdings, complete with a corporate website, a business address, and a bank account showing a balance of $18 million. To Silas, it would look completely legitimate. That night, I watched the surveillance feed. Silas and Juliana were celebrating in the living room, champagne flowing. $15 million, Juliana said, laughing. "We're going to be set for life." Silas raised his glass. "To my idiot brother. May he rest in peace while we spend his money." They clinked glasses. Then Silas's expression shifted. "There's one problem," he said. "What?" "Elena. If she's alive when we close, we have to deal with her after. But if she's gone before the sale, the insurance pays out first." Juliana leaned forward. "The backup policy? The one that doubles if she dies before the property transfers?" "Exactly. $5 million becomes $10 million if it's ruled accidental death before closing." "How much time do we have?" "The walkthrough is tomorrow at noon. So we need to move tonight." Juliana stood up, pacing. "What are you thinking? An overdose. We increase her medication tonight. By morning, she's gone. We call it a tragic accident. The buyer never even knows." Silas nodded slowly. "Dr. Brennan will sign off on it. Natural causes due to her condition. No questions asked." I gripped the tablet so hard the screen nearly cracked. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from my contact at the Pentagon. Subject line, "Fisher update." I opened it. "Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Fisher landed at LAX 2 hours ago. Rental car traced to San Diego area. Last known location, 3 miles from your coordinates. Fisher, the corrupt officer who signed my death certificate. He was here, in California." I pulled up the surveillance feed again. Silas was on his phone. "Yeah, it's me," he said. "Tomorrow at noon. You need to be there. The buyer's offering serious money, but I need you to verify the transfer paperwork. Make sure there's no legal issues with the trust." A pause. "No, she won't be a problem. We're handling that tonight." He was talking to Fisher. The three of them were in this together. Silas, Juliana, and the man who erased me from existence. I sat back and let the pieces fall into place. They thought they were one step ahead. They had no idea I had already won. If you knew your enemies were planning to strike tonight, would you stop them immediately or let them incriminate themselves further? Comment your strategy. And if this tension is getting to you, smash that like button. We're almost at the end game. Noon. The formal dining room. I had spent the morning preparing. Not as Vance Holloway, the security consultant. As Elias Grant. I wore my dress blues, the uniform I hadn't touched in 7 years. The medals gleamed on my chest. Purple Heart. Bronze Star. Navy Cross. I looked like a man who had walked through hell and come out the other side. Silas, Juliana, and Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Fisher sat at the table, contracts spread out in front of them. They were laughing, talking about vacation plans, completely at ease. Then I walked in. The room went silent. Silas looked up, confused. "Mr. Holloway, what's with the costume?" "This isn't a costume," I said quietly. "This is who I am." I walked to the head of the table and stood there, letting them see me fully, letting them process. Silas's face went white. No, he whispered. You're dead. I have the papers. You're dead. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folder. I threw it onto the table. The death certificate slid across the polished wood. Let's talk about that, I said. This document was signed by Lieutenant Colonel Fisher 7 years ago. It declares me killed in action. Body unrecoverable. Except I'm standing right here. Fisher stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. This is absurd. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave before I call the police. Go ahead, I said. Call them. Because I've already called the Pentagon's Internal Affairs Division. They're very interested in how you've been falsifying military records for profit. How you've been taking bribes to declare living soldiers dead so people like my brother can collect insurance payouts. Fisher's hand froze halfway to his phone. You have no proof. I pulled out a tablet and set it on the table. I played the first clip. Surveillance footage from 2 nights ago. Silas and Juliana in the living room, discussing the insurance policy. Talking about staging my mother's accidental death. The audio was crystal clear. Juliana stood up, her face pale. Where did you get this? I've been watching you for days. Every conversation, every plan, every disgusting thing you've said about the woman who raised us. Silas found his voice. Elias, listen. This is all a misunderstanding. We thought you were dead. We were just trying to take care of Mom. By locking her in a basement? By drugging her into a stupor? By planning to kill her for insurance money? I played another clip. Juliana suggesting they increase the medication. Silas agreeing to stage the overdose. Fisher nodding along on a phone call, promising to handle the paperwork. Stop, Silas said. Just stop. Too late. Silas lunged. He grabbed a decorative letter opener from the sideboard and swung it at me in a blind panic. I moved on instinct. I caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him face down onto the table. The letter opener clattered to the floor. The whole thing took 1.2 seconds. I leaned down close to his ear. This is the same table where you made our mother serve your guests like a slave. How does it feel? Silas struggled, but I had him pinned. Fisher tried to run for the door. It opened before he reached it. 2 men in FBI jackets stepped inside, followed by an IRS agent. Silas Grant, Juliana Cross, Raymond Fisher, one of the agents said, "You're all under arrest. Would you have kept your cool, or would rage have taken over? Let me know in the comments. And if your heart is pounding right now, you're not alone. Hit that like button if you're feeling the justice." The agents moved quickly. Silas was handcuffed first, still face down on the table. Juliana tried to talk her way out. "This is a mistake. We haven't done anything wrong." The lead agent pulled out a warrant. Elder abuse. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Conspiracy to commit murder. You want me to keep going? I walked to the corner of the room and pulled up the full audio files on the tablet. I handed it to the agent. Everything you need is here. Financial records. Surveillance footage. Recorded conversations planning my mother's murder. The agent scrolled through the files, his expression hardening. "This is airtight." "Good," I said, "because I want them buried." The IRS agent approached Silas. "Mr. Grant, our records show you've been receiving monthly wire transfers totaling $3.6 million over the past 6 years. None of it was reported as income. You're looking at tax evasion on top of everything else." Silas looked up at me, his eyes desperate. "Elias, please. I'm your brother. We can work this out. You stopped being my brother the day you sold me for $10 million. Juliana turned on Silas. "This was your idea," she screamed. "You told me he was dead. You told me it was legal." The agent raised an eyebrow. "So you're willing to testify against Mr. Grant?" "Yes. Whatever you need. I'll tell you everything." I stepped forward. "Before you do that, you should know something." I pulled out another folder. Inside was the forged death certificate. I had it analyzed by a handwriting expert. The signature isn't Fisher's. It's yours, Juliana. You were the one who forged the original documents. You were in this from the beginning." Her face crumbled. The agent took the folder. "Well, that changes things. Looks like you're both going down." Fisher was trying to negotiate. "I'm a decorated officer. I have rights." "You had rights," I said, "until you sold them for a bribe. The Pentagon's internal affairs is already freezing your accounts. Your pension is gone. Your rank is gone. You're done." The agents led them toward the door. Silas stopped and looked back at me. "Where's Mom? Where is she?" "In the only place you'll never find her again," I said. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can't touch her. Somewhere she'll finally be free of you." As they were taken away, I walked to the window and looked out at the ocean. The estate was quiet now. Empty. The IRS agent approached me. "We'll be seizing the property as proceeds of crime. The sale to your shell company won't go through." "I know. I never planned to keep it. I just needed them here." "What will you do with it?" "Auction it, probably. The funds will go to restitution for your mother." "Good," I said. "She deserves every cent." He thought his own mother was disposable until the man he betrayed came back from the dead. Only those who value family stay until the end. If you'd never abandon your parents, subscribe and tell me. Was 20 years in prison enough for Silas? 3 months later, I stood in the backyard of a small house in Virginia. It wasn't a mansion. It was a 2-bedroom craftsman with a white picket fence and a garden that stretched out toward a quiet lake. My mother was kneeling in the flower bed, planting tulips. Her hands were steady now. Her eyes were clear. "How does it feel?" I asked. "To be home?" She looked up and smiled. "It feels like waking up from a nightmare." I knelt beside her and helped her press the soil around the bulbs. "These are the same flowers you used to plant when I was a kid. Do you remember?" "Of course I remember. You used to dig them up because you thought they were treasure." We worked in silence for a while. Then she spoke again. "I heard about the trial. Silas and Juliana got 20 years each. Fisher got 15. I nodded. "They'll serve every day of it. No parole. No early release." "Good," she said quietly. "I know I should feel sorry for them. Silas is my son. But I don't. I feel relieved. You don't owe them forgiveness, Mom. They made their choices. Now they live with the consequences." She wiped her hands on her apron and stood up. "What about the house? The estate?" "The IRS auctioned it off. The proceeds went into a trust for you. But I didn't keep it." "What did you do with it?" "I donated it to a foundation. For elder abuse victims. People who need legal help, safe housing, medical care. People like you who got trapped and couldn't find a way out." She hugged me, her thin arms strong around my shoulders. "I'm proud of you, Elias. I fought wars abroad only to find the most dangerous enemy was at my dinner table," I said. "But you taught me something, Mom. You taught me that strength isn't just about surviving. It's about staying sharp even when they try to dull you. It's about holding on to who you are, even when they try to erase you." She pulled back and looked at me. "What are you going to do now?" "I've been asked to consult for a task force. They investigate financial crimes against the elderly. Fraud, exploitation, the kind of things Silas did to you. Apparently, I'm pretty good at it." She laughed. "You always were good at finding the truth." We walked back to the house. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the water gold and red. I thought about all the missions I'd run, all the places I'd been, all the things I'd done in the name of duty. But this felt like the most important mission of my life. Not every return is a homecoming. Some are a rescue mission. And the strongest armor isn't Kevlar. It's the truth. Because the truth doesn't fade. It doesn't rust. It doesn't break. And when you wield it correctly, it cuts through lies like a blade through paper. My mother planted her tulips. I sat on the porch and watched her, finally at peace. Be honest. Was Elias right to trap them, or should he have just forgiven them for the sake of family? Say it in the comments. I'm pinning the most controversial take. And if this story moved you, If it made you think about the people in your own life who might need protecting, don't just walk away. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the world is full of people like Silas. And the only way to stop them is to shine a light on what they do in the dark. Thanks for watching. And remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about loyalty. It's about showing up when it matters most. I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. We really appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And guess what? The story doesn't end here. Click on the video right here on your screen to dive into another fascinating story. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Once again, thanks for being a part of this amazing community. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring stories that move you.